Good afternoon, Power Sisters. Anita here. Happy Monday. It's been a while since I've come in here and have done any kind of a training. Right now, I'm coming through Zoom and broadcasting in our group. So if you are making comments, I will definitely come back in and respond to each and every one of you. But this is based off of me saying that I wanted to do a training in this group to really support each and every one of us as we move into the last, can you believe it? In just a few more weeks, we'll be at that halfway point for 2022. June 1st is the 6th month of 2022. And a whole lot has happened in these past 5 months. And I have very specific and intentional goals for myself and for all the women that are around me, and that includes you here in the club. And part of that is helping each and every one of us really step into a much deeper level of allowing ourselves to receive more wealth and abundance and money in our lives so that we can make the changes that we need to make for ourselves and for our family, as well as for our calling, our purpose that changes our community and the world. So first and foremost, I want to welcome all of our new members here. We've got quite a few women who've joined us. Thank you so much for being a part of this. I hope you'll take some time to check out all of the guides. We have several trainers, Power Her Success experts who are in our group who are providing training to us and what we are doing here. I'm going to actually put me as the speaker. I've invited a few women who want to join this particular training. They're an opportunity to be here live with me, but this is definitely being broadcasted in our group. So kind of going back to the new members who've joined our group, I'm so honored that you're part of the Power Her Success Club. I hope you'll take some time to check out our guides. As I was saying earlier, we have several power experts in here who are doing training every single day of this week and every single day of, or every single week of this month and moving forward, providing you content to support you in really becoming the woman you're called to be. So the Power Her Success Alliance and the Power Her Success Club that's a part of the Alliance, we have some very specific focuses. Our focus, and this is something that I have seen, and I'll share a little bit more about myself in a couple minutes for those of you who don't know me, but what we have seen is that when a woman really steps into her divine feminine power, she not only changes her own life, but she changes her family, her community, and the world. And with everything that's been going on in the world for the past 3 years, if there's ever a time for the divine feminine, for the woman's, for each of us to come forward in our energy and our frequency, vibration, and our voice, and our talents, and our gifts, and our abilities, now is the time for us to do it. You have said this, you have heard this, you know this. And yet, at the same time, we as women can be so busy and so pulled in so many activities that we're not really taking care of ourselves or allowing ourselves to step into our power that allows us to bring forth the kind of, make the kind of impact and have the kind of success that we're designed to have. So this is something that is very near and dear to my heart. And I've been very, very blessed to find all of these amazing experts who believe the same. And now we're coming together because I'm a firm believer that it's easier to build a business and a community together than trying to do it alone. The coaching industry really has convinced us that we need to be building our businesses alone. But if you really watch how men do business, and I've been very, very blessed to be around some very successful men, and a lot of them partner with other men or other agencies or businesses or associations to help them take their brand and message in the business to the next level. And as much as we as women understand the power of that, we don't do it very much, at least from my humble outside perspective. And I will show more about that shortly. So this is what the Power Her Success Alliance is all about, and the club is as well, is to first and foremost help you step into your divine feminine power, and then second, really build that community and that sisterhood that holds you accountable to your greatness at the deepest level. And I tend to attract women who know that they're called to the masses. I am called to the masses. I'm called to make a bigger impact. I am called to create major platforms that helps women like you be seen, be heard, be celebrated, and be paid well. And it's been a journey. This is not something that it's been easy for me. Yet at the same time, I have accomplished quite a bit in my life, and doors open to me on a regular basis. And I step into that because this is what I'm called to do. And the more I accept it, based off a divine download that I got from God saying, Anita, you're not being who we created you to be. This happened right before the pandemic. And I asked, what was that? And got this very powerful vision of it's time to go to a whole new level of visibility, well, beingness first. So in my own totality as a woman, so in my feminine power. And then in my calling and purpose, and there's a difference between calling and purpose, is if you've been in this group, I actually did a training here, so you can go look in the guides, look under Dr. Anita Jackson, and you'll see that one of my trainings talks about the difference between having a purpose and having a calling. And that's so crucial if you really want to understand how to step into your power, and it helps you not be pulled in so many different directions that you don't have the energy, frequency, or vibration to accomplish what you're here to accomplish. Okay, so that is what this club is all about. And today I'm going to be talking to you about something that is very much near and dear to my heart. Of actually, if anything, it's taken me to a much deeper level over the past 6 months. And that is the science behind the female brain, your beautiful, gorgeous, powerful brain on wealth, abundance, and money. So I have a problem, and my problem has existed pretty much most of my life. And that is really understanding how to give myself permission with creating great wealth, abundance, and money in my life. Now, I have done well. Let me be very, very clear. I have done well in all of those areas. But then I hit a limit. I actually hit a glass ceiling within myself, not something that someone else did to me. This experience was my own. And I had to go through this powerful, deep, dark night of the soul to really peel back the layers so that I could truly understand the holistic aspect of what it means for me as a woman and as a Black woman to allow myself to have wealth, abundance, and money in my life at a much higher level, like breaking my 6-figure ceiling that I was at. Okay, so, and then I started to notice that so many other women were having the same. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Dr. Anita Jackson. I have a background in human development, specifically focusing on marriage and family therapy, did that for 27 years, and organizational psychology. So I've got the personal success mastery side, and I've actually got the professional entrepreneurial development side. So the business side and the human side, and those two came together. And what that created for me is I had my own private practice. I taught at the university level. I worked with mid to major corporations, actually, and doing a lot of consulting work. So I do a lot of consulting work on leadership and team dynamics and mental health and wellness. That's what I did on the consultant side and got paid well for that as well. And then I also had my private practice and I taught at the university level. So in 2011, God said, okay, you've completed this journey, you're done. And I got laid off. And in that experience, I had to rediscover what it really meant to allow myself to have money, to build a business that was lucrative and sustainable, and going through my own money drama. And boy, did I find out I had a lot of money drama in my life. I had a very, very poor understanding of my own relationship with money. Definitely didn't understand my own energy, frequency, and vibration with money. But I'm a fantastic lifelong student. So I'm constantly searching and reading books and getting into opportunities and situations that helps me learn, just like you. And I know that almost every woman in here, you are here because we have like-mindedness in our heart, mind, soul, and spirit. And therefore we have attracted each other to each other. And all the women in this group, we're here because we want to step into our power and have a higher experience of living our best life. Well, because I'm a very highly spiritual, highly ambitious, very, very strategic, and I am the type of woman who makes things happen. Being that being said, I've become a publisher, so I've got 10 books under my name. I have been on multiple major stages and have spoken to very, very large audience. My largest audience to date that I've spoken to, no, I didn't speak at that event, was about 1,200, about 1,200,000 to 1,200, somewhere in there. I've been with a very, very large women's organization, and that one we did at the Rose Bowl. We had over 32, but I didn't speak at that one, although I got several prophetic words that I'd be doing that. So that is one of my callings, is to bring forth a major women's event. So the club is actually a part, and the Alliance is a part of that. So we now have someone who are building that out with me to make that happen in the near future. I am a senior executive producer of several online TV shows, and now we're trying to get that to go live. So we're doing some work behind that. I've been a publisher of several magazines. I've gotten an award for my own magazine. I've got 2. I Am Enough and The Unlimited Woman. So I'm sharing this with you so you can see that I make things happen. And right now, what we've stepped into, especially since 2020 gave me the greatest gift of all in the midst of all the hardship. And that was, it slowed me down. It shut everything down for me. Because I did a lot of speaking, and that's how I got most of my clients. So when everything came to a halt, it gave me the opportunity to sit still and really hear my God self, hear God within me, and really take me through this dark night of the soul so that I can actually begin to deal with things that I had an awareness of, but I had not embodied yet, especially around the areas of wealth and abundance. So when I have gone through, like many of you, we've gone through all these different types of trainings with all kinds of coaches on daring to create prosperity, or learning about limiting beliefs, learning how to increase your energy, your frequency, and your vibration. All of those things are absolutely necessary and fantastic. However, what I have seen over the years is that a lot of these coaches are only talking about one aspect, either the spiritual energetic side or the mental emotional side. But rarely do I actually hear a therapist talking, or a coach of any kind, talking about it from the biological side, or more specifically, holistically. So your body, soul, and your spirit. So just so that you'll know, I believe that the soul and the spirit are 2 different things, but they all work powerfully together. So your soul, again, from my humble opinion, is your mind, your will, your emotions. So how you think, how you feel, and how you behave, how you actually live out your life. And so when you're going through a dark night of the soul, that basically means everything that your values, your belief systems, your thoughts, your emotions, your behaviors are all being affected. And the dark night of the soul is not an easy process. There's a lot of pain in that process, and it happens to release and help remove some of the thought patterns that you may have created that prevents you from living your highest and best life, stepping into your power. So this conversation that we're going to have today, the science behind your female brain, is my hope that I can give you at least enough of an understanding that you will make a decision to start changing the biology and the neurological process and patterns, or I would say patterns and process, say it in that way, of how your brain, your beautiful, gorgeous physical brain actually works, and how it runs your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, and more specifically, your energy, your frequency, and your vibration that supports you in manifesting the things you want to support in your life. Hopefully that makes sense. So with that being said, this masterclass is my way to first get you thinking a little bit differently about how your brain is actually processing everything that you have gone through and everything that you're going through right now. So, and hopefully you'll make a decision to join me in a 10-week program, because I've got some very specific goals that I am wanting to accomplish in the next 6 months of this year. And I want to take as many women with me on the process of actually changing the way their brain, their body, their souls, and their spirit works so that we can actually do some really deep work on getting our brain and our cells and our blood and our organs, all of those things reconditioned, or my favorite word, rewired for wealth, abundance, and money, or unlimited success in every area of your life and in your business. So that's what this particular training is going to be about. Now, the truth be told, I probably should take a whole day. I should probably create an event to really go in depth to talk about all the different elements of understanding the science behind your female brain. But I'm just going to give you some highlights, enough for you to go, I have an understanding, this makes more sense. Now I need to start making some changes if I'm really going to rewire myself so that I can, in the next 6 months, allow myself to attract in more wealth, abundance, and money. Because doing the work is one thing, being busy is one thing, but actually disrupting the old patterns of how you've been treating money, handling money, attracting money, using money, all that kind of stuff, that takes a little bit more work. So we want to get started on understanding that. So I do have notes here because I can go off into a tangent and I don't want to do that. I want to use this time wisely. I don't plan on being here any longer really than an hour. However, if something comes up and I feel divinely led to go a little bit longer, I will do that. But this is going to be right here. And then of course, at the end of this masterclass, I want to give you an opportunity to seriously do some deep work on changing your life for more wealth and abundance. So we're not just talking about the practical side and the spiritual side and the emotional side. We're also talking about the biological side. So all aspects of who you are coming in complete alignment with you manifesting more wealth and abundance and money in your personal life and through your gorgeous, beautiful business. Hopefully you have one. And if you don't, I can help you with that. All right. So 2020, this whole entire pandemic has been really challenging for all of us. But what a lot of people don't think about is that that experience and what we're still going through has created certain patterns in the way you think, feel, and how you're living your life. And if you really want to talk about it, go at the deep psychological aspect of it, most of us, if not all of us, are dealing with some level of post-traumatic stress disorder. PTSD, because you know that when we have been stressed or overwhelmed or we've had some sort of a traumatic event take place, our system, consciously and subconsciously, will kick into gear to actually protect us. So the brain shuts in or goes into fight or flight. I know you know this. And then that fight and flight is to protect us in some sort of way. But what a lot of people don't talk to you about is what actually goes on in the body, what actually goes on in the brain, because what's keeping you alive is your brain and your heart. Those are the two organs that has you living your life right now. And if those physical organs are damaged in some way, it's going to affect your life. So because we've been in high PTSD stress, post-traumatic stress disorder, most of us are probably producing a certain chemical in your natural body. Is cortisol a chemical or hormone? It's a chemical. Yeah, it's a chemical because oxytocin doesn't work. Okay, so my brain had to get back to the science. A chemical called cortisol. You've heard of this, you know this. So here's how you can tell if cortisol is operating in your body right now. If you were to give yourself a massage and it's a little tender, or you were to feel lower in your back and you feel a little bit of a knot, and a little bit of a soreness, that, my love, is cortisol. And so cortisol, what it does, it actually tears down muscles. It tears down cells. It tears down your energy, frequency, and your vibration. This is why you may be feeling tired or overwhelmed or anxious or depressed. It's because cortisol is running through your body. And believe it or not, it affects your prosperity hormones. I'm not going to talk to you. If you've been in this group with me long enough, and if you haven't, promise you again, if you just go to the guides here in this group, you'll find a training when I talked about your female feminine prosperity hormone that your body produces in spades. And if you really understand how to build it, it'll counteract the cortisol that's operating in our body that causes us actually to interfere with our energy, frequency, and vibration, and all the other things that causes us to attract biologically the things that we're trying to attract to our lives. So this conversation is really helping you understand 3 specific aspects of your brain that is probably interfering with your ability to create the kind of money that you want to make. Now, most of us have, most women that I've talked to, and I've heard several of you even in this group, have said, if I can just create $10,000 per month in my life, that would help me so much. I can't tell you how often I have heard that. And I was in a point in my life where that was true for me too. And thank goodness I've done a lot of the work and have moved myself up the line that I'm at a different level now. And now I realized in 2021, really is where it became very clear that I had another limit. My limit at that point was hitting that 18,000. I could not break that 18,000 a month like level. It just kept, so that meant for me, ooh, I've got a block. There's a block that won't let me go beyond that. So I got to figure out what that block is, and then all this other stuff happens in that. So today, as I'm talking about your brain, I want to share 3 specific things that your brain is doing every single day that even if you are using strategies and principles and techniques on trying to manifest more wealth, abundance, and money in your life, it's probably interfering with it until you make some really dramatic changes and you're looking at the whole aspect of what it really means. Whole aspect meaning your body, your soul. Remember, your soul is your mind, your will, your emotions, how you think, how you feel, how you behave. Your body, your soul, and your spirit. So spirit to me, just so that you'll know, because I didn't define that, is your God self. It is the part of God in you that is whole, complete, nothing missing, nothing broken. This is how God wants to be realized and experienced and expressed in you, as you, and through you. So, and then from that, that's where, in addition to your brain, where energy, frequency, and vibration comes. So your energy really is coming from your brain. So your brain, it's not your thoughts, it's your brain that's actually processing the thought and then allowing that energy of that thought to be emanated out to the world. And that's what's attracted to your life. So you got to understand how your brain is actually functioning in order to create the right kind of neurological pathways that actually allows you to have the energy, frequency, vibration to actually attach it to your dreams, your goals, your desires to actually help them manifest. That's where coaches are missing it. They're not talking about that. So here's what you need to know. Okay, so in neuropsychology, I am so in love. I've been studying this for the past couple of years, but I really have fallen deep in love with it over the past, I'd say maybe 6 months, and especially the last 2 months. Like it's gotten me so deep into really understanding how the female brain or the brain works that I'm actually going back to school. I've been actually having some conversations with different universities to go that much deeper into understanding how the brain works. And there's a very specific focus that I have that even some of the people that I've talked to at these universities are saying, now that's cool. We would love to help you, get an understanding of that from a neurological perspective. So I'm looking at saying when I want to do that, how I'm going to do that, what do I need to make happen financially to make that happen. So that is one of my goals I'll share here. And there's some other big goals I've got behind the scenes. And so understanding how the brain actually functions is going to help me understand how to take all the spiritual, energetic principles and techniques to a much deeper and richer level, because now I'm holistically addressing this issue. So you're going to have the opportunity to learn that too. So in neuropsychology, there is something called the motivational triad. The motivational triad, especially when it comes to your brain. Now, a man's brain and a woman's brain has the same sections, the same elements, but they are different in how their sizes are and how they function. So for example, in the brain, we have the amygdala. The amygdala is the control center for our emotions, but it's larger in a woman's brain than it is in a man's brain. So again, we have the same thing, but the way they operate are different. So that's just a little bit of science for you to know and be aware of, and you can do your own study. If you're wanting to learn a lot about the female brain, I recommend Dr. Daniel Amen. So far, I think he has done a phenomenal job in regards to talking about the female brain. And I think the name of the book is called The Female Brain by Dr. Daniel Amen, A-M-E-N. Okay, it is one of my favorite books. I highly recommend it for those of you who are neurological geeks like I am. That's a great book to go read. It's got a lot of content in it. Anyways, so the other piece about the difference between a man's brain and a woman's brain is that, so let's imagine this as the brain, okay? So see that little line down the middle? You see that every time you look at the brain? So it looks like it's connected, but it's actually not. There's space between it, okay? And in the space, there are synapses, okay? And those synapses is what connects the brain and allows both sides, both hemispheres of the brain to fire and function. And so for a man, it stays disconnected. See that little space there? But from a woman, it's actually deeply connected underneath. So it actually fires more like a whole brain. So all parts of her brain are active and are charged and are being fired at the same time, whereas a man's brain operates one hemisphere at a time, fire, fire. So depending upon his experiences will determine how much of the brain is actually firing while he's needing to access information. This is why a man can focus on one project at a time, or he has to complete this task at a time. Not that he can't do multiple, but he can't do as many as women can. We as women can be, I've got to talk to my client, do laundry, pay the bill, make that phone call, all of that's happening all at the same time because more of our brain is actually involved in the process because there are all these different thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So the beautiful thing about understanding that is the brain itself has three primary goals, and that's what the motivational triad is all about. So I want to share those three primary goals because it'll help you understand. And I'm really going to do my best to communicate this in as much layman's term as possible because the science behind it is fascinating and it's deep and it can be a little overwhelming. So I'm going to do my best not to speak science, but really speak in a way that you can grasp this so it helps you make new decisions. And you should know by now, and if you don't, decision is my favorite word because it means to reach a definite conclusion. And that's my goal, that you reach a conclusion within yourself, a definite conclusion within yourself today, that it's time to make some major changes in how you deal with wealth, abundance, and money so that you can change the remaining 6 months of this year. So the emotional triad and how the brain primarily functions has three specific functions or focuses: seeking pleasure, avoiding pain, conserving energy, and or being as efficient with that energy it's being used as possible. So the emotional triad has three focuses: seeking pleasure, avoiding pain, conserving energy, and or being efficient with whatever energy it's using. All right, so let's see if I can break each piece down in a way that makes sense. I'm going to start with conserving energy first. So the brain itself already has a idea that it's focused on making sure that you stay alive. That's its primary focus, that you stay alive. So anything outside of that is not its concern. And if it deems that whatever you're experiencing doesn't support your true survival, which also does come from your belief systems, your value systems, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, and your behaviors. So if you've had a lot of trauma here and you've survived that trauma to the point that you're still alive, it won't take you beyond what you've already conditioned it to know how to do, to live, to understand, conditioned it to do. I'll say it that way. So let's say there's a lot of trauma around money, wealth, and abundance. It doesn't come in enough. It's not consistent. You have a certain set point inside yourself of how much money you'll allow yourself to have, and you've been there. I always say, if you've been in something for 3 years or longer, that's a set point. That's a limit. That's a block. And it's not changing until you do some real deep work, and you got to do it on multiple levels, not just one. And a lot of coaches are trying to just teach you on one level, not realizing that those past experiences have created patterns. Your beautiful, gorgeous, powerful brain creates patterns, or what's called neurological pathways. And this is what affects the neuroplasticity of your brain, how the brain actually functions and operates and has energy going through it. Those patterns, those pathways are strong, and they're not easily broken. So you have to do something very specific to start to overlap those neurological pathways, to change the brain to actually create new neurological pathways that are much stronger than those old ones, so they can be replaced. That takes work, but it takes very specific type of work. It's not that it can't be done. It definitely can be done, but the more intentional and the more focused you are, the more powerful those shifts and those change and those neurological pathways could be changed. This is really where they say it takes 21 days to create a habit or to change a habit. That's kind of where it comes from. It's actually a lot longer than that. It's about 67 to 90 days. The reason why they say 21 is because the brain is beginning to create those new neurological pathways, but those pathways are not strong, which is why another 67 to 90 days is so important, because that's what's going to solidify it within your gorgeous, beautiful brain. So some of these coaching programs that are 6 months or longer, they're going to serve you a whole lot better than maybe something that's really short. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm one for the short program in a lot of ways. Like, let's get you in. If you do the work, they can be profoundly powerful in making some powerful shifts for you. The challenge is, are you committed to showing up and doing the work in any of those short-term programs? Even the program that I'm going to mention to you today, if you want to be a part of it, it's only 10 weeks, but it opens up the door for you to work with me more specifically at a deeper level to really make those changes for your life and for your business. This is if you want to continue to move forward. Okay, so let's get back to talking about the emotional triad. So the brain's focus is to keep you alive. And that means conserving all of its energy to that purpose, and or whatever energy you're using to keep you alive, it wants to be as efficient with that energy as possible. So kind of going back to like caveman days, and when there's a saber-toothed tiger coming after you, that's where the fight and flight comes in. It's going to expend a lot of energy to get you to run or to get you to freeze, so that maybe you can, stop and be in a place where you're safe. Whatever that safety looks like, your brain's going to try to convince you to make that happen so that you can stay alive. Well, the same thing happens to any kind of trauma that you may have had around love, around happiness, around joy. At the expense of keeping you alive, it will not focus on anything other than that. So if you are focusing on building wealth and abundance and trying to get more money in your life, it will say, but that's not necessary for you to live, quote unquote, because somewhere along the line, you may have a subconscious belief that that's actually true. I don't need a whole lot of money. I don't need wealth, abundance, and a whole lot of money to survive. Therefore, you can be doing all of the right things and still not getting the results you want because there are neurological pathways that have been conditioned to not allow you to actually move forward. This is where the unconscious self-sabotage comes from. This is where the self-beliefs are developed. All this stuff is in that area of your gorgeous, beautiful brain, and that's operating in the emotional triad. Okay, I can go into a lot more depth there, but I think that's enough for you to get what I'm trying to tell you. And so this is what part of your healing and up-leveling is beginning to say, can I see the patterns that I have around money, especially the negative patterns? Can I see the negative patterns that I have around money that may be preventing me from actually moving forward, even though I have gone through the coaching programs, I know all the principles, I know some of the techniques, I use Reiki, I use tapping. All of those things are powerful and absolutely essential, but if they're not used in conjunction with a whole lot of things that actually changes the way the neurological pathways in your brain work, they're just a lot of activities. They're great activities, but what I have learned over the past 6 months, well, I've known for a while, is that you really have to do all of them so that they're hitting all of your senses and they're hitting part of the triad in order to actually have the brain start creating new neurological pathways, synapses, and changing the neuroplasticity of the way the brain actually functions or operates. All right, hopefully that makes sense. If there are any questions, I promise you I'll come back and answer that later. So let's talk about the other side of the triad. Think of the triad like a triangle. Top is seeking pleasure. Bottom over here is conserving energy, being efficient, and the other side is avoiding pain. So let's talk about avoiding pain. Okay, so when we have gone through any kind of trauma, our brain is changed. When we've gone through any kind of trauma, is anything that directly or indirectly affects our ability to function and live our best life. So anything that upsets that causes pain, instantly the brain says, I have to do everything I possibly can to get out of that situation. And sometimes if we haven't developed the right thoughts, the right feelings, the right strategies, the right self-care, the right, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a word I'm looking for. Coping skills. The right coping skills to actually move forward. Sometimes we just move from one issue to the next. This could be the example of you move from one guy who was horrible, you get out of that relationship, and then all of a sudden you get into another relationship and it's almost the same. So you start seeing the patterns of you having the same experiences with men in your life or relationships in your life, or you're having the same kind of health issues, or you're having the same kind of money issues. All of that is because there's been pain that has happened in that area of your life, and it created a really deep and strong neurological pathway that now is conditioned to almost have you attract those same kind of things over and over again until you make the change. Now, the flip side to that is the brain says, you've experienced this trauma, you've experienced this kind of pain, and you have figured out to some degree how to get past it. And you have survived it. Remember, the brain's primary focus is to make sure that you survive and that you live. So you've gone through some sort of painful experience and you have survived it. It will create another neurological pathway that says, this is okay. She can go through this experience repeatedly and she'll be okay. So then what happens is it creates those neurological pathways for that kind of experience to keep coming up over and over again. And that's where another level of how patterns are developed. So we've got to start paying attention to, am I having the same experiences over and over again? And if I am, that's because there's a block there and there's a pattern there. And I've got to disrupt it. I've got to break it, figure out how to break it so that I can create a new way of thinking and feeling and believing so I can move into my next level of success, okay? So because of what we've gone through with the pandemic, most of us have been on hold. Most of us have been, I think we're just beginning to just a little bit come out of feeling anxious, feeling concerned. We've dealt with so much over the past 3 years that we are beginning to see some shifts, but maybe not a lot. So this is where the female spirit, the female energy and power and voice needs to come forward, because one of the things that we have as women is we have the ability to influence anything for its highest level of change. And 9 times out of 10, we're doing that towards others rather than towards ourselves. So this is why I want you to be thinking about, have I really taken my own up level, my own evolution, my own ascension really seriously? 2021 was where I realized that I had a lot of information, I had a lot of awareness, I had a lot of knowledge, but I really hadn't deepened my embodiment as a woman in her power and as a woman who's allowing herself to have a high level of wealth, abundance, and money in her life. And because of that revelation, and I started to do some real deep work within myself, and I focused hard on changing my thought patterns, my energy patterns, my energy patterns, my emotional patterns, that's the word I was looking for, my emotional patterns, my behavioral patterns, my relationships, the food that I ate, the people that I hang around, the way that I handled money, everything got turned upside down, and I had to restructure all of it. And in doing that, the next thing that started to happen is I started to have and start to attract some amazing opportunities. If you've been following on my page, I've been traveling. There's more traveling coming up in the next couple of months. I'm very, very excited about that. Been meeting some fantastic people, new opportunities with my business start to come forward. Speaking engagements are slowly beginning to, at least the conversations are beginning to come forward again. New contracts working with major corporations are coming in. All of these things are now beginning to blossom because I really took my sense of self as a woman, my powerful self as a woman, to a much higher level. I always knew it was there. And here's the other thing, you know it's there, you can feel it, you can sense it, but we have conditioned ourselves, we've allowed patterns to be developed, we've allowed emotional belief systems and feelings and emotions and thoughts and behaviors and energy and frequency and vibrations within us to prevent us from truly going to that next highest level that we were designed to have. This is where I think Marianne Williamson's poem, Our Greatest Fear, comes into play, because we are so powerful, but yet we're so afraid to allow that power to come forward. So we end up operating against ourselves, and that's what's creating all these neurological pathways that aren't designed really to operate that way. They just become that way because of all the experiences that we've had. Okay, I'm going off on a triad or off on a tangent. Let me come back around. So again, the brain is focused on conserving energy and avoiding as much pain as possible, because pain threatens your survival, whether it's mentally, whether it's emotionally, whether it's even physical or biological, because we know that if there's a lot of pain going on, then our body starts to produce cortisol. Cortisol is I think it's the enemy, it's the devil. It's gonna tear down your body, and that's where disease comes from, or dis-ease comes from. And so it's really from the high production of cortisol. Perfect example. 2011 through 2018 being probably the worst year of my life. I was under so much stress that I was getting migraines almost all the time. And I was tired all the time. I was getting sick all the time. It was destroying my body, my mind, my life, my relationship. Everything was horrible, but I'm a fighter. I'm very ambitious, and I believe in God, and I believe in God so much that God helped me get through it. But what has happened is my body produced such a high level of cortisol during that time that I recently went to the doctor to get my eyes changed or my glasses changed. I felt like, I feel like there's something, I'm not seeing things as clearly as I did before. I probably need to get new glasses. And of course, I get the phone call from the doctor's office saying, hey, it's time for you to come in for your new eye exam. And I went in, and the comment that the optometrist said was, I think your eyes are stuck. And I'm like, what does that mean? And he said, well, let's do another examination. They did an examination and basically said, your body's producing so much cortisol, Anita, it's actually tearing some of the retinas, I can't say it right, retina something, it's a long term, away from my eyes, which causing things to blur a little bit. I'm not seeing things as clearly because the cortisol is eating away at this film that's behind. So here's your eye, there's a film on it, and then this film helps you see color, helps you see images, helps you see distance, far or close, and mine's tearing away from my eye. He said that only happens when you have too much cortisol in your system. And I'm like, get out, who knew? So I learned something new. So this is why I am so focused on helping more women reduce their cortisol and increase their oxytocin. That's your prosperity hormone, just so that you'll know. Increase your oxytocin by helping you actually change the way your brain functions so it actually focuses on building in more oxytocin to move you to the next level. So this is really what activated me doing a lot of studying on what needs to happen biologically, what needs to happen nutritionally, what needs to happen energetically to shift all of that around me so I can get back to the place where I'm healed. Now I have to admit, because I've been doing the work, my eyes are getting better. I can definitely see a difference because I've been doing a lot of the work that needs to be done for me to heal it naturally before I have to do anything surgically. So all of this stuff is happening to our lives. So this whole pandemic, I promise you, almost, I would say 97% of the world's population has cortisol operating through their body right now. There's probably a small percentage of people who have done really well at probably balancing that out because they already had the behavior for it. They already had the pattern for it. Hopefully you're seeing a theme in here and you're hearing a message in here. And so now when it comes to you manifesting money, or allowing yourself to have wealth, abundance, and money in your life, if there's a lot of pain around it, like money hasn't been consistent, you've lost things. I've lost major things because of money in my life. I've lost a home, I've lost a car, I've lost my job, I lost all these things around money. If that causes a lot of pain, then the brain's gonna say that pain is interfering with your survival. I'm gonna do anything and everything I can to make sure you survive, even if it means I have to shut you down to make that happen. If I have to close you off to help you survive, then that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Hopefully that made sense. All right, so let's talk about the final piece. And again, I can go into so much more on both sides, but I think that would just become probably too much right now. So the third piece at the top of the emotional triad is seeking pleasure. So seeking pleasure for the brain is kind of its way of when I'm feeling good, and you've heard this from all kinds of coaches. You've heard this from Tony Robbins, you've heard this from Lisa Nichols, you've heard this from Oprah Winfrey, you've heard this from all these speakers and coaches out there that talk about when you change your emotional state or you're feeling really good, it changes your energy, frequency, and vibration. Well, what they're really trying to tell you too is that when you feel really good, your brain actually produces more positive energy. Now, what you do need to know is your heart actually produces more energy than your brain does. So when your heart and your brain, when your heart and your brain connect in focusing on working on seeking pleasure, then that means you're going to emanate 1,000 times more power through your body that allows you to actually manifest more success in your life. On a biological perspective, the more pleasure you have in your life, whether it's sexual pleasure or just being around great friends. This past weekend, actually literally a couple minutes ago, Pamela, who's one of my best friends, was out here visiting me, and we had so much fun this weekend. She's my like ride or die girlfriend. She's actually one of our power experts here in the club. She's also my executive director of corporate training for our corporate division side of the alliance. And she tickles me. This woman makes me laugh so much that I'm in tears often, like often. That's one of the things we do well together is we enjoy each other's company and we laugh quite a bit. So if having the kind of relationships that makes you feel like you're living your best life, you're actually experiencing a great deal of fun, of joy, of happiness, of pleasure, is going to cause your body, your brain to say, oh, I feel really good now. I'm going to release certain types of hormones, specifically hormones in a woman's body. Like, although oxytocin is your prosperity hormone, there actually is a prosperity cocktail. So that if you had all of these particular hormones operating through your body continually, it's just going to take your power, your energy, your frequency, and your vibration, your ability to manifest to a whole nother level. That was what I experienced starting in November of last year. From November till about March, I kept traveling to the Bahamas, and I kept traveling to other places and spending a lot of time. And I realized I need to go. I need to travel. I used to travel a lot before all this happened. I've been to multiple countries. I've been very, very blessed to have been not around the world, but I've definitely done a lot of traveling. And I have loved traveling. It feeds my soul, my mind, my will, my emotions. It helps me feel in motion. It helps me feel alive. It helps me feel very present. And I've noticed that every time I travel, every time I do something that allows me to live my best life, I make more money. And I'm like, interesting. Each and every time more money has come in. And it seems like it's growing by $5,000. Now I'm gonna break it. I'm gonna break that $5,000 limit and go, we're gonna shoot for something really high. And now that those opportunities are around me, they haven't landed yet, but they are around me. So I'm saying, okay, I'm going to do some real deep immersive work that's going to change the way my brain functions, the way the energy, frequency, vibration in me functions, the way my thoughts, my emotions, and my feelings are operating so powerfully, so deeply. I have no choice. I'm going to believe so deeply in God, in myself, and in the purpose and my calling so deeply that those big goals, and they're audacious, those big, huge, audacious goals that I have for myself have no choice but to manifest this year. Okay? By the way, that's a great book. The Audacity to Be Queen by Gina DeVee. I actually share that book quite a bit because I actually think she did a phenomenal job. And I'm not one who shares other people's books. I really don't. But that one's a good one. And another one that I highly recommend is called, what's it called? Rewire for Wealth by Barbara. I think she just changed her name back to her maiden name, which is Hudson without the D, Hudson. Fantastic books. If you really want to at least read about strategies to changing your brain. There's so much more that I can say there. So let's come back to seeking pleasure. When you are seeking pleasure, you feel alive. And therefore the brain says, oh my gosh, she's alive, she's doing well, she's living her best life. Therefore, I'm going to take all this energy that I'm focusing on. Remember, the brain's goal, one of its primary goals is to conserve energy and to be efficient. So if you're living a high pleasurable life, it's going to focus all of its energy towards making that the highest place of focus so that you can actually have more energy, frequency, and vibration in that area that's going to help you manifest your life. However, there's a but to this. If you have a lot of pain, or if you've gone through a lot of pain and you haven't dealt with those subconscious issues of lack, of fear, of worry, of doubt, of I'm not good enough. You're aware of it from an informational place, but you have not subconsciously dealt with changing the neurological pathways of those beliefs and those feelings and those thoughts and those behaviors. No matter what you do, it's going to revert all of that pain or all of that energy that you may be putting towards pleasure towards avoiding that pain. I want to avoid this, so all the energy is going to convert to that aspect of its focus rather than staying focused on pleasure. So the goal here is you've got to do this deep, immersive work to actually change how the brain functions. So we're going to focus on, let's look at where the pain points are in regards to wealth, abundance, and money first. And then let's come back and focus on how we're using our energy towards wealth, abundance, and money. And then let's really redefine it and put it all around pleasure. And if we can do it in that order, the brain's gonna actually change. And once it starts to change, and you start to have the new way of thinking and the new way of feeling and the new way of behaving, the heart's gonna kick in. And then as the heart starts to say, oh, I really feel this, I really believe this, I really desire this, then it's gonna give your brain more power, and that power is gonna focus. It's an amazing kind of process of how the brain and the energy and all of it works together. It's fascinating, or at least I'm fascinated by it. So I'm sharing this with you because I want you to begin to think about, if I'm going to actually do things differently, or let me say it a different way. If I want to experience something different in my life, if I want to have new experiences, I've got to do something differently, especially when it comes to allowing myself to receive more wealth, abundance, and money. So this is where I'm looking for 20 to 50 women. If more come in, then I'll see if I'll open it up, because the work that we're doing, that we'll be doing in this particular program, I want to invite 20 to 50 women to join me on a feminine wealth immersion program. It's a 10-week rewire your brain. It's an activation program, if you will, on rewiring your brain for a higher level of wealth and abundance right now, so that by the end of 2022, you will have manifested the level of wealth and abundance and money that you really want to manifest. Now, listen, part of that, what's missing from this program is the strategic planning of your business so that your business can actually manifest that kind of wealth and abundance in it. That's not in it yet. I mean, eventually I will probably make this a full year-long program. But for right now, I'm looking for women to kind of go through this program. It's going to be a beta program. And let me tell you, I actually did just finish, as of yesterday, a 40-day program with 22 women. They were part of my executive team and my administrative team, and some other women joined in as well, a part of the Alliance for our corporate division. We just went through a 40-day abundance plan, and it was really phenomenal. However, I realized, gosh, I wish I had taken this a little bit, done this a little bit differently. So you will actually get the benefit of that experience that we just had. And these women had some amazing things come forward: speaking opportunities, book launches, clients coming in, more money coming in, increase of favor, all that kind of stuff was happening. And even one person said, gosh, I had this issue that's been hanging over me for the past year and a half. I did everything I could to break free of it, and it finally cleared while she was going through the abundance program, and it brought in actually finances for her. So that happened as well. So now that I've gone through this program, I led them through a 40-day process. I've condensed it to a more powerful feminine wealth immersion program. It is in beta, so you're getting it at a beautiful price, because I promise you, after these 10 weeks, it's going to go to a whole nother level, because I'm definitely going to add the strategic build your empire piece to it. So it's much more robust and making sure that you actually manifest what you want for this program. So I want to share with you a little bit about it. I'm going to give a link below when I come back so that you can actually go look at the details of it. I I'm not creating a whole huge landing page. And just here's the information for it. Click on it. If it's a good fit for you, fantastic. If it's not, that's totally fine as well. But I really hope there are at least 50 women in here who are saying, I'm tired of having the same experience around wealth, abundance, and money in my life. I'm ready to show up for myself in a much bigger, bolder way so that I can have the kind of success that I know that I was created to have, and I need help. I can't do this by myself. That's one of the things that I said. I need help. I can't get to that next level that I want to get to by myself. And that's when all these amazing individuals came in. And there were some men that came in. And I have to tell you, I think I learned so much more about wealth and abundance from the men than I did from the women that showed up. Men have a very different mindset and behavior and energy around money. That's fascinating to me, or at least it was during this experience. I was hanging around 6 men, 3 of which were millionaires, multimillionaires, by the way. 2, which I think were in their high 6 figures, trying to break into their 7 figure, trying to get into their millionaire status. And there's a conviction that they have, there's an audacity that they have that we as women need to develop. And I think that's what helped me, because I'm like, well, why am I not doing this? Made the decision, again, that word decision means to reach a definite conclusion, made the decision I was going to do it, and that's when things started to change for me. And now I'm making a new decision for that next level. And I want to take as many of you with me as possible, for sure, at least 50. So here's what this program is all about. In this 10 weeks, we're going to reconnect and redefine money, wealth, and abundance, or wealth, abundance, and money in a very specific type of way that's going to help you change the way your brain actually processes wealth, abundance, and money. So through a technique that I've developed, so you'll be able to do that. We're going to actually reassess some past traumas around money. I know it doesn't feel good at first, but trust me that if we can go back and start looking at and identifying the pain point, the starting point of where money started to really create that neurological pathway in you that's now preventing you from actually receiving the kind of money you want, then we know what to change very specifically. Because you can pull up that story or that sentence and saying, now I know exactly what's been said. So for example, my sentence around money that was blocking me was, if I make too much money, I'll be alone. And I'm like, I didn't realize that that was even operating deep inside me. And so until I started to do some deep work. So that's been my block. Now, the funny thing connected to that, it's also blocked my ability to allow myself to allow a man to come into my life as well. I'll be very transparent on that. And now that I have that revelation, I went, isn't that interesting? I won't allow myself to have money, and I won't allow myself to have a man come into my life, because somewhere along the line, they're both going to leave. That was my second sentence. If they both come in, they both leave. Well, that came from my father. That's a whole nother story. But I'm saying it so that you can kind of see, all of these things are connected. Okay, so most coaches talk about that. Most of you know it. But again, what you don't realize is that belief system in your subconscious mind, it's there biologically. It's created in neurological pathways. Let me even take it a little bit deeper. If there's a lot of pain around that, it then becomes issues within your tissues. Now it's in your cells. Now it's actually operating through your cellular system. It's operating through your spine. It's operating through your veins. It's operating through your muscles. It's actually working together inside you and creating the same patterns over and over and over again. So that needs to be broken. So we're going to reassess as many of those as we possibly can to break them. Then once that's going to do, we're going to go deep into very specific activities that you're going to do every week. And if you really want to make some changes, every single day. They're not hard, they're really simple, but you got to join the program to figure out what those are, to hear about what they are. activities that are going to have you touch every part of your senses so that they're shifting all the time. And then that's going to create, you're going to have a new experience, new feelings, new thoughts. So we can create some new neurological pathways. So the brain actually says, this is different. And because it's different, I'm going to put more energy, especially if we can connect, and that's my goal, is to connect with those new thoughts and feelings, a lot of pleasure around it, so that you feel alive around it. And if you are having that experience, it's going to cause the brain to actually start to create new neurological pathways, synapses, that's going to change the neuroplasticity of your brain. So how it functions, how it actually pulsates and beats. So we're going to do all that in the 10 weeks. So the 10 weeks is focusing on, I'm going to give you almost every single week, and maybe even more than that, on Mondays, some brain-based neuroscience training on different aspects to help you focus on how to begin to change your brain. So that's going to happen every single week, every single Sunday, probably in the afternoon. We're going to go through a meditation process, and I'm actually going to take you through an EFT, which is emotional freedom technique tapping, so that you can actually tap in when you release the negative aspects of abundance. We're going to tap in some abundance statements. So we've got one for every single week. You're going to use it, you're going to learn how to do it, and you're going to have these statements. You'll actually have it in your hands so that you can do it daily if you want to. I highly recommend it, but I'll walk you through that process so you'll know exactly what to do to begin to change how the brain actually functions when you're using tapping. You're going to get 10 very specific abundant principles. And this is based off the book, Abundance, the Abundance book by John Randolph Price. I absolutely love this book. If you really want to understand the spiritual, the metaphysical aspect of abundance from a God sense within you, this book's going to do it. It's up there with The Science of Getting Rich. I've gone through, I actually am certified as a Think and Grow Rich facilitator. And I hope nobody here is from that company, because I went through Think and Grow Rich. I actually love the Abundance book and the Science of Getting Rich book a whole lot better. But there's a lot of power from the book Think and Grow Rich. This is why the whole mastermind aspect of Think and Grow Rich, I think, is phenomenal. Anyways, so we're going to use this particular book, and every single week, there's a particular principle that we're going to focus on, and you're going to actually have an activity around every single principle, morning and evening, that's going to strategically change the way your brain actually processes abundance. So there's an actual activity that goes with every single abundance principle to help your brain create a new neurological pathway with it. Then you're going to have a weekly, what I call a luxury emergence activity. We're going to do an energetic boost. I think those of you have heard me talk about here. I have this beautiful, powerful medical energy device called Healing that actually gives off microcurrents or resonance. So it actually kind of like Reiki, but from a mechanical perspective. It's very, very powerful. Every person who's used it with me has had powerful shifts from it. And I'm going to give you every single week a 26-minute energetic boost towards abundance. I actually have a program specifically geared towards abundance, and the whole group is going to get that. And there's a way that I can do that. And then we're going to be meeting through WhatsApp. I've been testing between, do I want to stay on Facebook? Do I want to go to Telegraph? Or do I want to use WhatsApp? I like WhatsApp. I like the way it works. I like how easy it handles for right now. It's not as overwhelming per se as I think Facebook is. So we're going to use that as one of our meeting places. And of course, we'll be meeting on Zoom. I think weekly you'll be meeting with Zoom. I haven't decided on that one yet, so that may be coming over time. And then I'll have 3 Q&A sessions. where you can come and ask me any kind of question that you may have in regards to how to continue to use this information, use the several techniques. And there are multiple, it's not just the tapping, there are actual very specific activities that you're going to be working on every single week to get the whole idea of wealth, abundance, and money in your system. We want to change you at the cellular level so that you can actually increase your energy, frequency, and vibration for more wealth abundance in your life. And so this is a beta program. I'm offering it at $897 or 3 payments of $397. So if it's something that you're interested in, as soon as this video is over, I'm going to pop that video below. And this is how it's going to work. So there is some prep work. So from now until June 6th, that's when I want the program to start, June 6th, which is a Monday, if I remember correctly, because I like Mondays. Mondays are my favorite days. There are some things that you're going to be doing with the materials. So you'll actually get a guidebook that has all the materials you need to go through this particular program, in addition to other materials for you to just read and process. So it helps you actually begin to understand all the things that I've been talking about in regards to your beautiful, gorgeous brain. So you'll get a nice little workbook that has information to support you. Prior to us actually starting the program, there are certain assignments that I want you to complete before we actually start so that you start to prime yourself for more wealth, abundance, and success in your life. It's not like mandatory, I guess is the word I'm going to use. It's not mandatory. However, you'll have a higher chance of actually seeing results if you do the prep work. This is where I think I did my 22 women that went through the Abundance Initiative that we just did a little bit of a disservice. I should have given them more assignments at the beginning. I gave it in throughout the program, but I should have done more prep work for them now that I'm really getting a deeper understanding of the science behind wealth and abundance, just based on the abundance book. There's certain things I would have had them do that I think once we do them together, just being real, just being transparent so that you can hear this and know this is very intentional, being very specific about this. And so if you join in now, you get to walk through this prep work that's going to get you ready for the actual step-by-step process of the training that we're going to do for the remaining 10 weeks of this program. Okay, so our very, very first group prep session is scheduled for Thursday, May the 26th at 1 p.m. So once you join the program, you're going to get an email saying, hey, here's some information. Here's the workbook that's coming. Here's our first session, because I'm actually going to walk you through that workbook so you know exactly how to use it, all the activities in it. It makes real clear sense to you what we're doing. And then I'm going to guide you through every single week and throughout the week on the different activities that you need to participate in that's going to change the way your beautiful, gorgeous brain focuses on and changing you at a cellular level in regards to wealth, abundance, and money. I know now without a shadow of a doubt that I'm here not only to help women step into their power, I'm here not only to create platforms to have more women be seen, be heard, be celebrated, and be paid. I know I'm here to start talking about wealth and abundance in a much deeper and richer kind of way. And the way that I feel I'm called to talk about it is helping you understand it holistically from your body, from your soul, from your spirit. And this is the beginning of that process. So I hope that what I shared with you, one, made sense, because I know that was a lot of information, and that's just typically how I work. And number two, it has gotten you thinking about, where am I not really doing myself a disservice or a service in regards to stepping to my next level of allowing more wealth, abundance, and money in my life so that I can not only change my life, I can change my family, I can change my community, and I can change this world. All right, ladies, with so much love for each and every one of you, wishing you the highest level of success. And I really hope that you feel it is my deepest honor and my deepest passion to support you in making the rest of this 6 months of this year your best year ever by helping you step into your next level of wealth, abundance, and money now. Many blessings. Talk to you all soon. Have a great one. Bye.